Hey everybody, this is Sheree, founder and editor-in-chief of Curls in the Hood. We're back with another podcast. Today's conversation is You Aren't Ready for Polyamory with our lovely contributing voice and licensed sex therapist. You know her as Sunflower Jones. Her pen name, her was provided in the article, Blue Lady Gamer. Hello, Miss Sunflower.
Hi, how you doing?
How art thou today? Are you
We're
excited?
always good. We are always good out in this hood. Always.
Okay, so I got my serious glasses out.
Come on, serious glasses.
So I'm a serious journalist, and
Come on. I
I
love
need
it.
to, pull up my serious notes.
Come on. I'm into it. I have glasses too. We can be serious together. Let's be
We're gonna
serious.
be serious together. Okay, so I'm gonna give you kind of the same breakdown that I gave Yadi's. We'll start with your introduction and background, some concerns that you have about uninformed exploration, the impact of social media and television in this topic, the subject matter, communication challenges that come up with couples or peoples trying to explore polyamory without the education, navigating emotional complexities, and then some educational resources and guidance, and then closing out, well, ish. We have 3 more questions. Closing out on some cultural and societal influences and alternative approaches, if they exist, for polyamory. And then we'll close out with ethical considerations and then any advice that you have for Curls in the Hood readers. And
I'm
hopefully
glad you wrote that down, right? Because I didn't write that
oh
down.
man.
Okay, serious. Serious
I
glasses
was
on.
serious about the notes. I got
Come on, notes. I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Okay, so starting with your background, can you share a bit about your background as a licensed sex therapist and your expertise in matters related to relationships and intimacy?
So I became a sex therapist because I wanted to teach people, this is going to sound a little off, but I wanted to teach people with special needs about sexual health and sexual awareness because in my vanilla job, as I call it, I'm a school social worker and I work with students who have special needs and young adults who have special needs. And the one thing that they are not being taught is about sexual health and sexual awareness. And absolutely, there's nothing sexual that comes from pleasure ever, 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 ever. It's always don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because it comes from a fear base. And I was like, no, they need to be taught that sex is pleasurable and you also can be safe. So that's where my started. And I wanted to put those two together.
Okay. So then that kind of, well, no, that doesn't answer my next question. What prompted your interest in addressing the topic of couples exploring polyamory without professional guidance? Now, I'm going to answer a bit of this question for you because I know that came from me saying Sunflower, I need you to tell the people to stop, to get out
Yes,
of the streets
yes.
asking for 2 sums and 3 sums and 4 sums and 5 sums and extra girlfriends and boyfriends when they're not getting the primary relationship right.
No, it's too much. It's too much. The problem is, I think that monogamy has been our default when it is not our default. Actually, our default is polyamory. And people think that monogamy is the goal, right? Because before people make a decision to be monogamous with people or one person or whatever, what happens is everybody dates everybody, right? But they
Right.
think that's the thing we don't want. The goal is monogamy. When really it shouldn't, the goal should be whatever you want the goal to be, instead of everybody reaching for this
Right.
one thing and everybody living in this basically polyamory, and then everybody's saying, well, that's not good. And I think that's a mindset that needs to shift. And I feel like if people thought about it in that respect, then maybe everybody would have a little bit more freedom. And then people would feel less like they need freedom, if that makes sense.
Yes, because it's what I'm hearing is the need from polyamory is coming from this kind of caged bird feeling
Yep.
that monogamy is the only option in
Yep.
relationships. But and even though we kind of de facto end up in polyamory because of these cheating ass niggas.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? Because we've not cultivated a space culturally to polyamory to be an upfront choice, the way that monogamy is an upfront choice. We end
100%.
up with this like bastardized version of it, but this non-ethical version, I'll say,
Absolutely.
of people doing what they want to do, and having your auntie being like, "Well, girl, you might as well stay because it ain't gonna get no better."
Right. Absolutely. And then other things happen and they're like, oh, well, I'm not really sure. And I'm like, no, 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 no. There are other options. Relationship styles exist. Just like, for example, when we were growing up, right? People had to come away from the idea that the only type of family structure is a mother and a father and two kids and the white picket fence and a dog and a cat. We all understood at some point through whatever we figured out that that's not all relationships, that's not all families. And we
Mhm.
realized that other families are valid. And I think right now the culture is shifting slightly to understand that monogamy is not the only lifestyle, not the relationship lifestyle, and other relationship lifestyles are also valid. You just have to work at it and be ethical about it.
Okay. So moving into your concerns about uninformed exploration, right?
Mhm.
What specific concerns do you have about couples exploring polyamory without seeking professional guidance, especially when influenced by social media and television? So to segue into this, with your article for January, which was amazing,
Mhm.
I put the She's Gotta Have It
Yes.
movie promo with it because,
Yes.
as we discussed, and for the first time viewers of this or readers of the magazine, She's Gotta Have It is the first time that we
Mhm.
see Black polyamory on television.
Mhm.
Sunflower, you let me know that this is called kitchen table polyamory.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
that is the first time, but we've seen it since then. But Spike Lee is being the ingenue that he is, was the first time that
Absolutely.
it's on our.
Innovator for sure.
And so I'll repeat the question because I know, I kind of went off on a tangent then. So what specific concerns do you have about couples exploring polyamory without seeking professional guidance, especially when influenced by social media and television?
Well, I mean, I feel like people have the idea of polyamory as one, like the grass is greener on the other side, and it is not. It's
Mhm.
similar to when people who are single who like, oh, I want to be married because they think that like there's some sort of security there or like it's better because, right? And also people who have been married and think that, oh, the single life is also grass is greener. And I think we have to come out of that mindset. I think the issue is that people need to understand who they are as a core and not let constant media influence you because I feel like it's polyamory right now is like the term that people talk about and they use that term to say that I'm not going to cheat when you absolutely can be a person who is unfaithful or quote unquote a cheater and still be polyamorous. Those things are not mutually exclusive. There's so many things that's going on with it. It's also like a kind of niche term right now. It's also cute to say at a party and be like, "Ooh, I'm poly," and the girls go home and do their Googles on the clock app and be like, "Ooh, that's poly. I'm poly too." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's not the case." So I think I think there's an element of people having to slow down and
Mhm.
understanding what they actually are getting into. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I will say.
Okay.
The second thing I will say, it is not going to be something that's going to spice up your relationship. It will not. It will take the spice out. It will make your chicken unflavored. It will make your mac and cheese have craft in it. It will not do any of those things. So do not think you about to go ahead and be like, oh, me and my partner, we about to be poly and it's gonna be cute. And it's no, it's gonna be tears and heartache and heartbreak, and it's gonna be awful because that's just not the way it works. So that's what I'll say.
So, I don't know if this is the gift of you guys, like you and Yaris having the same ability to kind of like temper your responses in a way that lead us to the next question. Because my next question was, what are some of the common misconceptions or unrealistic expectations that individuals have developed from media portrayals of polyamory? And so, what you just said, and I would even add as my unprofessional opinion, if you are an insecure person, this could be devastating. Right.
Well, this
Right.
is the thing. Insecurity goes around because insecurity lives in humans. So
Yes.
if you try to do something that will literally pull out your insecurities, you are going to have a hard time.
Mhm.
However, that does not mean you don't do it, right? That just means you need to be with somebody who's safe enough with you so that you can talk about it and process it, right? That's what I will say. The second thing, let me tell you one thing. Jealousy lives in us all. I don't care if you're the gangster of the gangster, if you have one thug tear come out. Jealousy is real. It exists. It lives in our body. And it's just like anger and happiness and sadness and fear and anxiety. It lives in us. And the one thing that people think that, oh, if I'm polyamorous, that I can't be jealous or that I won't be jealous. And it is just untrue. The only thing I will say is that polyamory gives you a space so that you can be jealous and address it and talk about it. and process it.
Bless your heart. Communication challenges is
Come
the
on.
best segment of the show. So in your practice, have you observed communication challenges arising from couples attempting polyamory without
Yes.
professional guidance? And then what are the potential consequences of that?
I don't want to say something because it's going to mess up my coins. Because what happens is people try polyamory and then it goes terribly awry. And then they busting through my email and be like, help us, help us, help us, help us, which is great. So y'all keep on doing that because I got places to go. I'm trying to go to Mauritius in the next year. So y'all keep going, messing up so I can go to Mauritius. So that's what I will say. That's that. And I'm not y'all therapist, so I can speak how I want. Right. So that's what it is. But yes, the problem is people think like, oh, I need spice in a relationship, or I saw something on TV like the movie, or my friend over there who live in some cool little area in Brooklyn is poly, so I'm gonna do it too. And that's not how it works. You really need guidance, you need care, and you need concern. And the one thing you really need is patience. Woo, you
Mm.
need patience. Communication goes without saying, but the patience is the thing that you need to, because they're going to be pitfalls, they're going to be issues. And I always say this, and people start to explore the polyamorous lifestyle, you are building the train, excuse me, you are building the track as the train is moving on it. So you
Okay.
have to do the thing while you're building the thing, while you're also inside of the thing and loving in the thing. And it's real.
Do you think there's a bit of unlearning that has to happen before a couple even takes this on as,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I think of, and me and Brooklyn Book Bella have a conversation with this about this in a few weeks. I think that when we look at like something like religion, or how you mentioned how we relearned about family structure and what family can look like,
Mhm.
do you think people should even be pursuing polyamory if they've not taken on some level of like decolonizing their idea of relationships?
I agree. I do. I think that people, I will say I'm queer, right? I'll self-disclose I'm very queer human in everything that I do. So I think you have to kind of queer your mind and your thought process, excuse me, about what relationship styles are. That's just what it is, right? It can't just be, oh, okay, I'm going to have this partner, it's separate from this partner, it's separate from this partner, and we do this for this partner. It can't be that, because it will never be separate, because humans are fallible and we love kind of freely and openly. And that's not how it works, right? You can have, for example, and she's got to have it. She had something called kitchen table polyamory, which people can do their Googles, but basically is when you and all of your partners basically in the morning can sit at a kitchen table and have breakfast after you've done whatever you wanted to do with whomever you want to do it with in your partner group, right? In your polycule, as it call. And in the morning, you can sit across the kitchen table and have coffee and so forth, right? Because remember in the movie, in both shows, remember they had Thanksgiving dinner, I think it
Yes.
was, or something, right? So they literally sat across the table. So that's what she was doing, and everybody knew about everybody else, but that one instance they had it, and that's when like the hilarity ensued, or the drama ensued. But in that space, in like in an article, I said, are you ready to be and know that your partner is out with another partner when you ain't got nothing to do, when your hair ain't done, when your pimples are forming, when your belly is big, when you bloated, when you farting and you stinking, and your partner is out having a good old fashioned good time with three of the other partners? Are you ready for things like that? I think that's the conversation, and those are extreme, but
Hmm.
that's the conversations that need to be had before people can have the conversation about wanting to be in a polyamorous lifestyle.
And can you be polyamorous without that level of transparency? Because I think when we reference non-ethical,
Hmm.
non-monogamy versus
Hmm.
polyamory, first, are those even the same thing? Is that the same thing? Are we word souping the same thing when I say,
Yeah, I mean, polyamory and non-ethical non-monogamy, I feel like it's kind of one of the same thing. It's just saying that everybody knows what you are doing, and hopefully everybody that you are with also knows what they are doing too. It's basically everybody's in a know, right? Just use it. Everybody know what everybody got going on.
okay,
That's what it is. Whether or not you talk to your partners or metamors, as it's called, whether you're at a kitchen table, whether you do all different types of things within the lifestyle, it's like everybody knows that you got going on. Everybody knows that you are not monogamous.
okay, okay,
That's kind of what that means. The non-ethical part can come in because I could be for example, I can be in a primary. These are terms if people do the Googles. I could be in a primary partnership if they're doing hierarchical. I know I'm using lots of terms, but
that's
Google,
okay.
right? You can be in something primary, or I'll say nesting. You could be in something nesting with somebody, and you and your partner are polyamorous, but you don't tell your partner about another partner. You're already now in the non-ethical polyamorous relationship
Aha.
because your partner doesn't know what you're doing. The idea is everybody has to be open and free and communicative in it. That's where the ethics come in. Does that make sense?
It does, but do they need to know that person? So say,
No,
right? Okay.
no.
I'm over here taking notes for myself. I'm like, but do I
Yeah.
have to tell him
No,
that
no, no,
his
no,
name
no.
is
You
okay?
don't have to meet the other
Okay.
person. You don't have to go, like I said, I'm arguing, you have to go bacon, egg, and cheese with them while you in bed basking in your afterglow. It don't have to be that, but they have to know that you have another partner.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
important. They don't have to be partners with your partner, or they don't have to even know your other partner, but they have to know that partner exists.
Okay. So because you dropped a lot of terms, I would
Mhm,
love we can take this offline if you can just give me like 3 or 4 sites and I'll drop it in the search
mhm,
bar because I
mhm.
think we can send people to the Googles, but it's a vast place without
It
context.
is.
So if there
Mhm,
are, even if there are previous works or published, peer reviewed works that you've read or shared, I'll definitely put them in the description bar so that the audience can go back and like do their personal research. How
mhm.
can licensed therapists provide valuable guidance to couples considering or exploring polyamory? And I asked that question even though we've been talking about this the entire time because we're still in a place where people don't value therapy and sex therapy being a therapy, right?
See,
So
whenever it's
this is
interesting
kind
you
of
say
like
that, they do not. They do not value therapy as like something that people should do. And it is just time for your brain to come out of that group chat and give your friends a break and
because we
let
are
them
not
like,
licensed, girl, and I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna give bad advice.
it's true. I have to tell my friends too. I'm like, listen, I am not your therapist. So I'm telling you to go buy those $700 shoes. I'm telling you because that sounds like a fun thing we're gonna do at Bloomingdale's. Not because I'm telling you to be financially secure. I'm not your therapist. I ain't got to worry about what's going on. And I am a therapist. Like, I'm not that. Like, please don't think that. But yes, I do think people, one, you need to value therapy. You need to also value people who know about those things. If your therapist is not in a space where they are able to learn and know and knowledgeable and trained about polyamory lifestyle, do not be talking to them about that because you can go find a therapist that is specifically trained in that. I happen to be specifically trained, right, in
Mhm.
queerness, specifically trained in polyamory, right, specifically trained in kink and BDSM, and especially trained in also people who have special needs and autism and social cues and all of those things. So every therapist has like a specialty. So go find what you need in those people. And I have clients that come to me just for poly stuff. They don't want to talk about no other like other dynamics
Childhood
and not
trauma, they
even
don't want to talk
sexual
about
stuff.
none of that. They're
No, they
like,
want to talk
help me
about
hunt
mommy, daddy,
for
TT,
people.
auntie, uncle. No, they want to talk about poly stuff, and
Yeah.
that's it. Because I am trained in animals, and also, it matters. Race matters also because we blah blah
Also
blah, right?
competency.
Right, absolutely. It matters because I'm also Black and what that looks like in our society, in our context for our people, and also being poly. Because if you remember from the movie where Nola, people gave her shit,
Mhm.
about being and having all of these partners,
And
and
calling
people
her a
called her
hoe
out
and
of her
all types
name.
of stuff. Right, right. And that still matters so much to us,
100%.
right? Even
Hmm.
though
Hmm.
everybody's doing what they want to do anyway, but that
Right.
perceived,
When people
Madonna.
stand in it, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. When people stand in it, it was a big issue. But yeah, I just think that you have to be open and willing to talk to the people who have the knowledge. And clinicians out there, if you do not have the knowledge, let another clinician get the coins so that they can share the knowledge that they work for. That's okay too. That's okay too. Like for example, I don't work with people who are elderly. That's just not something I do. But I have colleagues that do. And when that come across me, I'm like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Here, boop, boop, boop. Here's this referral. So I'm just saying that just as like ethics for my fellow clinicians.
Okay. Um, are there ever alternative approaches to when a couple is expressing interest in polyamory? Are there alternative approaches to polyamory, if that it makes any sense, to
Mhm.
ensure that they are approaching this in a healthy, safe, and informed manner, right? If a couple comes to you and they're like, we want to be poly, is there a schmedium? Like, is there
I love that there's medium level
is there an
idea to
intermediary
polyamory.
step, or are we just jump? Do we just jump in? Like, how do we,
Yes,
like, how do we pick
yes,
and
yes,
choose?
yes. There absolutely is. I I have couples all the time that I have couples that come to me, have tried polyamory and went that disastrously wrong, and they want to step back and start from the beginning. I have couples that want to start from the beginning, and usually what I do something called exposure therapy. And if anybody knows exposure therapy, you've probably seen it before, where heard about it before, like somebody who's scared of snakes, for example. And the first thing the therapist does is say the word snake. And the person gets uncomfortable and they do that, and that gives them a little level of anxiety. They get used to it. Then they show them maybe a picture of a snake, right? And they do that. Then they show them like a video of a snake, right? And then maybe they'll go look at a snake so far away. And then they'll put a hand, you see what I'm saying? So you just
Yeah,
slowly
you like
expose
work your
yourself
way
to
up
the
to it.
thing to
Yes.
desensitize yourself. So that is something that I do, right? In regards to polyamory. I start off with the couple or whoever is in the group to possibly like start talking about what kind of partner they might want. Just have a conversation about
Okay.
it, right? And then they can move on to, all right, let's open up an app, right? Let's just see, right? And then do the app separately. Then we can move on playing with the app in the same room. You know I'm on an app looking for a partner. I know you're on an app looking for a partner. What does that feel like? Let's process. Everybody good? Nope. Let's pull it back, right? And then let's continue. Then what does that look like? Then from there, let's start chatting to people. Everybody chatting separately. Then we're gonna chat together. Not at the same people, but you chatting, I'm chatting, right? And then it just moves on from there. And then when we start getting into those weeds, you got to pull it back. We got to go forward. Somebody's good, somebody's not. And then that's how I usually do when it goes from scratch.
That is amazing. Because I was, when you were talking, I was like putting myself in that situation, because I think that, yeah, I would need to like work my way up. I think that if I was
Yeah.
with a person that I really cared about, and I still hold on to some of that monogamy training, right? And so, because you know what it is, I feel like I've fallen victim to, if you really like him, then that's your person, right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a person, we know who that person is, right?
Yes.
That just the thought
Uh-huh.
of somebody breathing on him too long, turn into a raging.
Yes. And that's okay, but that's the conversation to have, right? That's okay. But you can have that conversation with that person.
Right,
And you
right.
can be like, what does that feel like? And then I always say, are you having this feeling because you feel like you are not getting enough or something else is going on inside?
I
Can
don't
I
get
do
enough. So
more
how dare
for
you ask me
you?
to share?
Right? You gotta have
You,
a conversation,
you know,
right?
you
And
know,
then what does
you're
that look like?
honest.
And I have couples that have a hard time with it. Even they are poly, they both have partners, and they still have a hard time with the jealousy. They still have a hard time with sharing their partners, and they still process it, but they still push on because they believe that more love is important to them than sitting in those feelings. And that's the
Mhm.
thing.
Okay. Well, then we're gonna flip the coin real quick. Do you have a success story? Like, do you have obviously everything is uh anonymous, but like,
Mhm.
have you seen any success stories of people coming in from the beginning and
Mhm.
getting it right? And then what does that look like? Because I guess my question is, and I guess you can't answer this because this would be for the couple. If marriage is not the goal, because monogamy is not the goal, what does success look like in a polycule?
That's gonna be my answer. What does that look like? What does success look like? I've had couples that come in that are struggling, that think polyamory is gonna be the answer for them, and it is, and it have worked out because they like, oh, now we can stay together because I don't need all of these things from you. I can get this from this and this from this and these people, and it's great. I have couples that come in and think that poly is gonna help them, and it does not help. They try, it does not help them, and they break apart, and they are now with their separate partners who also have partners. I have poly couples that come in who think like, oh, we're still poly, and they be like, no, no, no. We think we need to lock this down, and it's me and you, and that's that. And monogamy is just for them. So I've had the range, and it continues to move and shift. But there's no success until you know what you feel good in, and that's also temporary. Because I've had
Mm.
couples that come in that be like, yes, we are doing the thing, we are having the fun. Ooh, I like all of these things. And they be like, I'm tired. Can we just be me and you for a minute? And then they stay, and then 5 years down the line, it's just me and you because we still tight. You see what I'm saying? So I think it just depends. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Well, last question. Before we kiki, we can stay on the call. I'll stop the recording after this. What advice would you give to readers who may be influenced by media portrayals of polyamory, and are considering exploring it within their relationships?
Nothing on TV is real. Nothing. There's nothing on TV that is real. Porn ain't real. That burger you see on TV ain't real. That pizza you see on TV ain't real. None of them bodies you see on TV are real. None of them relationships you see on TV, they are 100% not real. Because somebody sat there and wrote. Somebody gave them alcohol to beef up the conversation. Somebody gave them a little cannabis to keep them together so they can handle that. Or somebody orchestrated it. It is not real. So do not look to television to help you for anything in regards to your relationship because it ain't real. It's entertaining. Now, if you want to be entertained, sure, but it is not real. Do not do that. Do not do that. Please go to people who are learned, who are peer reviewed and who have written books. Do not go to somebody who had an experience, a firsthand experience, and then wrote it. You might be able to learn something. That is not the way to do it. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. If you're going to study the thing, I'm going to study the thing. But if I read a story about somebody who went through an experience, that's a different thing.
I love that. Okay, so now for our readers, just a sneak peek. So Sunflower's article was actually a part 1.
Mhm.
And so I came to her, our creative process in Curls in the Hood, it's a dictatorship. I'm like, write this. No.
It is. I don't mind. I'd rather be told what to do because you get some mess from me. You're gonna get it'll be like
I get
Strong
my
J
writers together and I
from the
think
Boomerang. When I give you all of these things, you're like, I did not ask for that commercial, girl. Do not give me that.
No, it's not. It's collaborative, but sometimes I really, when I'm thinking or dreaming up what the theme of the month is, and I'm kind of like, no, I think this sits nicely, or this story sits better
That's
here.
fine.
And so January was part 1 about, why most of us are not ready to explore polyamory, because as we discussed earlier in the call, there's some unlearning, some decolonization of our understanding of our relationships with ourselves and sex and partnership. And then, but February's theme is big love. And so if you insist, and when we had our call, I was like, I would love if, you gave some
Sure.
resources, so if folks insist. So
Yes.
we're going to give both sides of it. Obviously, everyone that is tuned in and that reads is adults. I look at the analytics. Y'all are 25 to 45.
Ooh, come on.
So, everybody around here for now. And so, yeah, we'll be discussing the other half of that and the upsides and the plus sides and things.
And the pitfalls,
And the
because
pitfall.
it won't be ethical if I give you all the things that can happen, it won't happen. I can be like, and that's okay, because you can try to do all the things ethically and it still may not be for you and for the time being, or maybe later. I don't know. It could be all of those things. But if you insist, I will give you some tools. I will give you some blueprints. You can have them, and let the cards fall where they may. But
I'll put your booking info.
please, because I will give you the things.
I think the thing too is that, I hope that as therapy continues to get destigmatized, that sex therapy is not seen as a luxury in the world of therapy.
Yes.
Because I think right
Or
now,
something dirty.
or something dirty.
That's what people come to. They'll come to me and they know I'm a sex therapist, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I have anxiety about work. And I'm like, okay, we'll talk about work, and I'm not hearing anxiety. And then like the 5th session, they'll be like, oh yeah, I masturbate 15 times a day. And I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what? What? How did you? That's great. That's fine. But you came in here talking about work. You said Sally and Joe at the job was bothering you. Why are we talking about this now? And they'd be like, oh, because I wasn't sure. And that's what happens.
I remember my very first time seeing a sex therapist in the media. It's random. You know that movie Twister?
Of course.
Where they chasing the tornadoes around?
Yep.
And the new wife, or the soon to be new wife, is a sex therapist, and she's like taking calls on that 1994 cell phone.
Yep.
She's like, well, Bob, why are you? I remember I was like, what? Like,
Yep.
I vividly remember that, because I was like, what is this? And why are the adults that I'm watching this acting like they don't see this lady talking about peeing in the back seat with a cow flying past her car?
They do us dirty. They do us
you
dirty
guys
in the
bad.
media. They do us so dirty. Or you'll see a sex therapist and then they'll be like being a sex surrogate. And I'm just like, that's 2 separate things. And again, that's the 2 separate things, and that's fine. But like, you can't mix the two. It's still therapy. It's just the thing. Anyway, they do us dirty. But hopefully with this, hopefully people will, each one will teach one and let somebody know, like, that's not what this is. And that's also a valid profession, but that is not what this is. So, and this ain't it. As you always say, this ain't it.
and it ain't. Okay. Well, this is, I'm gonna close this here. How can people get in touch with you or find you? If that's what you want. I always say, the internet is a weird place. If you guys do want to reach out or have more questions, you guys can always email us at info@curlsinthehood.com, and I'll put that in the description bar as well, just so that the internet is a weird place, and I want to protect my people. They share their, her sweat equity and her kind of intellectual property is donated to us here at Curls in the Hood, and I want to take care of my people. So, all right, well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had fun. I knew today was going to be fun. I knew it. Oh, Sunflowers articles, I always joke on Twitter. If you follow me, Twitter or Instagram is always Curls in the Hood. And I always joke whenever her articles get submitted that my butt cheeks are. I'm like, I never know what I'm gonna get. I never know what I'm gonna get.
It's true. It's true. I gotta keep you on your toes.
Every time I open that email, Sunflower Jones, I'm like, Lord.
Like, Lord, you're not gonna get anything less. You're gonna get quality, but it's not gonna be.
I'm like, somebody auntie gonna cuss me out. Girl, I thought you said this was for readers and dreamers and twerkers with bad knees. What is this?
Listen, all the information is information, but if it ain't for you, that's fine. Somebody will love it, and I appreciate it. Yes, but yeah, all my things will always be submitted around sex and love. And even if those things don't have to touch, it would be around it because the love comes from me because I love talking about sex, and it's important to do that. So that's where I'm going. But if you don't like it, give it to somebody else who will.
Amen. All right, so then that is it. Thanks, guys, so much, and we will see you next week's call or conversation is with Apollo Jones, very cool brother, who's going to be sharing his story that he wrote. Like, we're kind of having the extended version of his article, Let the Locks Go, where he like poignantly detailed his hair journey.
Love it.
Which
I loved every last
and
word.
it ended, but did it end? I think it's just we're in another format. And so that's it. Have a great night.